How do humans? Welcome to the Rediscover Human podcast. We made it to double figures. Someone said most podcasts don't make it past 6 episodes, I think they said, and we're at 10. Last week we talked about my experience in Amsterdam. Since getting back from Amsterdam, I had a knock on my door from 2 lovely police officers checking that I was quarantining.
Really?
They actually came and checked. I was supposed to 14-day self-quarantine when I got back from Holland. And so the police came. What a lovely bunch of people to come and check that I'm
Fucking pigs.
obeying.
Should have told them fuck off.
All right. Well, we've got Chris back, everyone.
Yeah, I'm back, fuckers. I'm back.
Yeah. And yesterday we hit another strong. So last week we did the first strong fit session I've done since being back. We went to Exeter to PFP gym, big up PFP, and me, Josh, and Harry went through a strongman session. We just uploaded that to YouTube as of today when we record, but that'll be last Wednesday. So check that out on YouTube. It's a lovely video Pete put together for us. A really good session, wasn't it?
Yeah, so good. They take your soul, those sessions, though.
They absolutely do.
It's good, like, in terms of any training we've done, especially since the lockdown period, it's been a really good time for sort of reinventing the wheel in terms of our training. Yes. But those sessions feels like getting back to normality in terms of, like, smashing it in the gym. And they're not only, like, good for the body, but you've got to grit your teeth and get through them mentally. So they're, like, real good for just mental development as well.
Facing the death of having no feeling in your legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't walk for 4 days after the last one. We did literally 3 minutes of exercise was all it took for me to not be able to walk for 4 days. It's incredible the way they structure it, whereas it's rather than objective-based, constraint-based, they say, we open the workout with always by a 3 times a 1 minute AMRAP, which is as many rounds as possible. So last week we did the axle bar front squats, 3 lots of 1 minute, and you don't pace it. You're not doing 15 reps. You're doing as many reps as you can in that 1 minute. And that all it took was those 3 minutes for me to not be able to walk for 4 days because my quads were dommed.
How many reps were you averaging in the minute?
I didn't count.
I think I did 27 the first round.
It's a fucking lot, man. What weight?
60.
Yeah, it was 60 kilos
It is.
on the bar. Axle bar.
That's hard, man.
It was real hard. And the thing is as well, because you're not watching the clock, so someone's just behind you with the minutes. You don't know where you are. Yeah. And there's something about like mentally trying to spur yourself on without knowing, there's 5 seconds left, there's 10 seconds, there's 2 reps to go. Yeah. You got to just fight through it.
It just works so much better than if you said someone write 15 reps of front squat, they might take a minute. Do you know what I mean? But if you say as many as you can in a minute, it's just that different mindset. That different mindset makes it so much better. And then all the other stuff we did on top of it. But then we did a session again yesterday with Harry. I feel a bit better. I still feel like drained, like my soul's drained, but my body doesn't feel as beaten up. And we switched up the axle front squats to D-ball, like the Atlas ball.
Yeah, it was worse.
Squats, but I felt it more in my glutes than my quads, which was nice.
Yeah.
Change. And then we did some horrific 400 meter carry.
Yeah.
And
with the yokes?
No, with the D-ball as a sandbag, like a 400 meter sandbag carry. We did the one arm overhead barbell, felt really good. So you were doing a walk with one arm, and we did 35 kilos or something. That felt really good on my obliques.
Great for stability.
I think I want to do a lot more of the one arm before like advancing the yoke 2 arm stuff.
Yeah.
So we did some 1 arm deadlifts, which felt really. I want to do a lot of that as well. That felt good. 1 arm deadlifts.
Another one to do for you guys. You've done it before, I think, down in Sweatbox, is when you do the overhead walk, but then you put the bands on each side of the Olympic bar, the kettlebell.
He's mentioned that every time.
Yeah.
We will
Such
do
good
that.
exercise.
Yeah, I think when we get back to Sweatbox, we'll do that.
Yeah.
One of the cool things about those sessions as well is the way they program it is just go balls to the wall first set. Yeah. And if you kill yourself in the first set and you can't go again, then they say that's you're done. And it's like mentally you're like, right, okay, I'm gonna go at it, but then obviously you got to be honest with yourself, thinking, right, okay, can I go again or can I not go again? But like after one of those sets, we did a prowler push. I didn't know where to put my legs for 5 minutes. I was like laying them flat, they were hurting. I was putting them up, they were hurting. I just felt the amount of lactic acid just feels sick to your stomach.
Yeah. There's something in those sled pushes, man. I've never done them before, like with the intensity that we do them here. And they do so much good. There's so low risk of injury, and you just feel so like legs just on fire afterwards. I'll tell you another cool thing we did was we set up the yoke. So you sat below the yoke, rope through the yoke, pulling the sled. So it's kind of like you're climbing a rope, but you're dragging the sled.
Okay, yeah.
And that worked the weight that Harry was doing was ridiculous, and we had to like anchor him down to, so that he wasn't just taking off. But that was kind of cool. But I think the weight may be too heavy where you're like, it's that balance of like, you want to work on good technique, but then at the same time, the heavier it is, the more you're using your whole body to make the work happen anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's like finding that fine line of like, I can just sit here and do perfect technique, or I need to fucking lean my whole body into this to get it done.
I think that maybe a sort of a next step for progressing how those work is the earlier sets, or like set one, maybe you go, right, okay, we're going to go perfect technique like weights.
I think so.
And then as you progress the weight, you can let the technique drop away and just get that grunt work done.
I think we can be a bit more focused, and we'll write that in so that we make sure we do that from the start. But I
think that's important to have both of those sort of methodologies, to have it where you're doing technique, but then also to not be scared to drop technique in order to just get like,
make it happen.
Yeah,
not be afraid
make shit happen.
Yeah, there is no alignment, as Ido said, right? Like just make it happen. Well, that was some gym testosterone talk, but we figured while we've got Chris's graces with his presence once again,
like the Messiah has returned.
we wanted to go over something with him that he has sort of created. I don't know how much he created this. I want you to tell us sort of the roots of how these all came about, but you've got some kind of charts, these posters you sell on your site, but you've got 3 different ones. Do you want to, you just tell us what these are and how you created them?
Yeah, sure. So give you guys a brief explanation on what this is all about. So we were discussing this for a while, for me to do an episode on this, because I think it's very valuable information for the world to know. I think it's important for everybody to know. Specifically in the time that we're living in now, with the current situation and circumstances here on planet Earth. And what this is, I'm calling it the Red Pill Pack. And this is why I wanted this to be the Red Pill episode. It's the ultimate Red Pill. And what does the Red Pill signify? It's the Red Pill that allows you to escape the Matrix. Just like Morpheus gave Neo the choice out of the red and blue pill. If Neo or Mr. Anderson took the blue pill, then he would wake up in the morning and forget everything that he had been shown from Morpheus the day prior. If he took the red pill, then it would start, or you should say it would open the door for him to walk through onto the other side and begin his journey of what the Matrix is really about, is self-actualization and escaping the Matrix, or escaping the subconscious. And that's what I really wanted to do with this pack. So the pack, the Red Pill Pack, as I call it, is 3 different maps. They call them maps. Think of them as guide maps to basically awakening and to ascension. So the 3 maps, the Red Pill Pack, is comprised of 2 maps from 2 friends of mine, 2 really good researchers that have spent a lot of their life pursuing this knowledge, pursuing this information, and they're both graphic designers, and they've created one is called the Great Awakening Map, which is created by Champ over at 5D Awakening Consciousness.
You're on YouTube. I'm
on Instagram. And then the other map is called the Cult of Baal Map, and that is by a gentleman named Dylan Lewis Monroe, also known as the Deep State Mapping Project on Instagram. And then you have my map, which is called the Superhuman Optimization Map, which all of them cover slightly different topics, but together it's like the age-old saying that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So each individually is a real great guide map to awakening in regards to the information that it gives you. Is these reference points that you literally look at, and you just pick something and then you research it. And then when you research it, you begin to connect the dots between all of the other points, and you begin to paint a picture in your head of the reality behind the fabric of falsity that we've been presented with in our day-to-day waking consciousness. And so where should we start? Because we were talking briefly before we went live on this, that it is, in my opinion, good to go over some of the, I guess we can't really go into the specifics on these, but just cover the overarching topic of the Great Awakening map and the Cult of Baal map, because they're what I refer to as problem-based maps, in that it's essentially all of the conspiracies, all of the disclosures, the truth movement really sort of summarized in a piece of art. And then my map is more so to do with solutions, because it's all well and good knowing about how specific bloodlines have ruled over history for thousands of years, and they sacrifice children, and they do this and that and this and that. But what does that mean to you? And how does that information empower you? And to be honest, most of the time it doesn't empower you, which is one of the things that was a problem that I wanted to solve personally, because I want to bring together both worlds of that sort of disclosure community, as well as peak state human performance and esoteric spirituality, self-development, nutrition, and bring that all together to show you how to become the ultimate version of yourself, so that you can escape the matrix, so that you can fulfill your destiny as becoming Neo, the one. And if we all do that and we all work towards that on an individual level, then that is what's going to make the collective change as a whole. You can only do the work on yourself. You can't get other people. You can't change other people. They have to change themselves. And that's pretty much a little sort of foundation.
I think that's a good way to go about it. If we just cover a couple of points from the Great Awakening, a couple of points from the Cabal, just to give people an idea of what these issues these guys are highlighting that exist in the world. Yeah. And then we can move on to your map and highlight some solutions where how people can work on themselves to counteract those issues.
Okay. So a similar sort of background knowledge and explanation to the episode 4 that we did on Freemasonry and all of the ancient mystery schools, because that ties into all of this, is that, quick summary, the world went through a massive shift. It goes through massive shifts on a cyclical basis. And the last shift happened about 12,000 years ago. And at the end of that when it happened 12,000 years ago, an advanced civilization essentially vanished under the waters of the Great Flood that is discussed in many mythologies and ancient history, oral traditions. And civilization reset. It went through a reboot. And during that reboot, the humans that were on the planet were experiencing pretty shitty times. And it was a time of a lot of vulnerability for us as humans in regards to our level of consciousness, in regards to external forces that started to manipulate us, genetically modify us. And in the space of that 12,000 years to now, essentially humanity got hijacked. It got hijacked by a group of individuals, both terrestrial and extraterrestrial in nature, and they created a system that has pretty much been the blueprint of the pyramid, blueprint of hierarchy of control that has been kind of really installed and programmed into the human experience to make us believe that this is the way that it always has been, so it's the way it's always going to be. And bloodlines have been very particular and very, what's the best way to explain it? Just very, very anal about this and keeping this power within their bloodlines. And throughout time, they have manipulated history, they have manipulated humanity, they have manipulated science, they have manipulated religion, they have manipulated the economics, they have manipulated every single aspect of the human experience to create a reality through your beliefs, because our beliefs create our reality, that they are in control and we are unconscious of that and we work for them. And the whole point of this is to stop us from finding out the truth. And the truth is that we are these beings of immense power and capabilities, of immense potential. And if we awaken to that, then their system of control crumbles like that. It's as simple as that. So they have done whatever they can throughout time to keep us from awakening. And they have a very, very dialed in system in place, so deeply entrenched into everything we perceive reality to be. They have created it. Everything that you think, everything that you see, you hear, you smell, you touch, you believe to be reality is a creation from this specific group of people. You are the effect of their cause. Everything that you think and that the way that you're living has been programmed from birth, right from the get-go. And it is time for us to awaken to our true potential and find out our real history, because the history we have been kind of conditioned to and programmed to since birth, believing that the lineal sort of timeline from all the way back to ancient Egypt, which is as far back as accepted history or mainstream history goes, is a lie. It's a lie to enforce the system that is in place now. And it's time for the real history to be disclosed. And that's pretty much what is covered on these maps. So I guess what we could do is it's such a diverse and wide spanning topic to cover a lot of points on here, because the Great Awakening map is really an expansion of the secret space program and everything regarding that, with all the conspiracies thrown into it. You got a bit of QAnon in there as well.
Yeah, there's some Buddhism as well, and like
rainbow
body levitation.
Yeah, Champ is very
Palladians in here, and then it's got the Galactic Federation. I used to listen to channeled messages from the Galactic Federation of Light.
Yeah.
So what's with the layout though? Because there's kind of this Earth shape in Antarctica, and then
I think it's all just for art. It's just to make it look nice. It's to make it so you've got some sort of visual like anchors to look at. Otherwise, if it's just information, it's hard to find order out of chaos. It's hard to process it.
Is there a way that they advise to go about reading this map? Because looking at that for the first time is a bit overwhelming in terms of the amount of information.
Book of Enoch on here, Enki, Anunnaki, Elohim. Yeah.
So normally you would start like on the top left-hand corner. The same with this one as well. So the fall of Atlantis, and then you can't just follow it across or follow it down. And it's, to be honest with you, so Dylan's map, which is called the Cult of Baal Map, this is one of his specialist maps. He has other ones such as the Q key. He's got a new 5G map that's good. The healing web, he's got that. But this one I wanted to involve in the red pill pack, because it is very specific to following this cult that we refer to as the Illuminati, the deep state, the cabal, globalists, all of the people that attend the Bilderberg group, and all of these other sort of multinational think tanks. These people aren't just there by chance. They're not there because they aspired when they were young to be a world political leader or a bureaucrat or whatever. They're there because it's in their bloodline, and they are following through with a plan that's been in place for thousands of years, and they are just the modern day rendition of that plan, of just following the rules that were set a very long time ago. And what this map does is it outlines it very well, where you can see distinct stages in civilization in regards to the, I guess, like who's holding the gauntlet, who's holding the infinity gauntlet, who's controlling the universe or the earth at that point in time. And this goes back about 6,000 years, from the pharaohs of Egypt, the kings of Babylon, into the Roman Empire. You get into like the Vatican with the...
Well, should we go into a specific example and just pick something that you are super comfortable in talking about? I know you've got deep knowledge about all of this stuff, but pick one that you've got a really high level of knowledge on, so we can dive in and give people an example of what you're talking about. I think that'd be a good place.
Okay, I think to bring it, without going too far back into ancient history where there's not much to grasp on, where it's all kind of like speculation, to go back into maybe the formation of the Illuminati. So I discussed that briefly on episode 4, to do with the beginning of Freemasonry, where that stemmed from Knights Templar into all these other sort of secret orders that eventually like conglomerated into Freemasonry. And then what we find is that there is a point in time when these secret esoteric mystery schools were infiltrated, and it is when they're infiltrated that we start to see some big changes in the world, in the planet. And this is the key date here is 1776. So that, as I was discussing, was the formation of the Illuminati. The Illuminati was created by a gentleman named Adam Weishaupt. It was called the Bavarian Illuminati to begin with. And Adam Weishaupt and a guy named Jacob Frank. This is an important character to understand. So Jacob Frank was a Jew. So I don't care if anyone thinks I'm anti-Semitic when I say shit like this, but the Jews have a lot to answer for. Not specifically the specific sects of Jewish, the Jewish community, specifically the Zionists. They have a lot to answer for, and we'll talk about that more later. So Jacob Frank was a Jew, and he believed that he was the reincarnation of a guy named Zabata Levi. And this guy was around back in like 1666, where he was pronounced. He teamed up with Adam Weishaupt, and then together they created this Bavarian Illuminati, which then infiltrated the Masonic lodges, other mystery traditions throughout Europe, and then over into the US of A, which is why on this map you then got 1776 USA, because 1776 was when America got their independence from King George III in back in the day. And it was what happened then is that you begin to see the Illuminati infiltrate and take over a lot of the Masonic lodges, the founding father lodges of the United States. And there's a specific letter that was made in 1798, which is a documented letter between George Washington and a guy named William Wallace. And they're discussing conspiracy. They're discussing conspiracy and everything that had been happening in Europe, and if it was apparent that there was similar occurrences happening in the States. And he said, no, not that I'm aware of. But then after that, you begin to see a lot of change within Masonic scripture and lore and history, and all of a sudden you've got the Scottish Rite Freemasonry starts to make an appearance when that was never the deal to begin with. You start to see some big names enter the scene. You've got the likes of Albert Pike, who was an American general, and also pretty much like a demigod within the Freemasonic world, and responsible for creating a lot of the Masonic traditions that are still practiced today. And over time, over the past few hundred years, these bloodlines that have stuck together in a group, they've interbred together, and they have created a slave state system for the rest of us to live in and pretty much do their bidding. And
so when you say bloodlines, do you mean the 13 Illuminati bloodlines?
So yeah, the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, but with the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, it's not just the blood, it's the blood is what counts. Like there is a frequency, there is a energy that is kept within these bloodlines, which is why it's a pure blood. They don't want it to be fucked with, which is when you get into the Rh negative and Rh positive blood types, that there's a reason why only a small percentage of the world have Rh negative blood. So Rh stands for rhesus, which is an antigen protein derived from rhesus monkeys. Mm-hmm. And the majority of the planet has this antigen in their blood, which is why you register as Rh positive. But if you don't have that, then essentially you have pure blood. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens that all the royal families throughout ancient Europe, throughout the Americas, if it's not a royal family, it'd be people within power, they all seem to have this Rh negative blood. And there's loads of weird peculiarities with this Rh negative
So,
blood.
I mean, Meghan has it for her to marry into the family?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Like nothing happens by chance with the royal family. Like everyone is of an accepted bloodline. Like, there's no way that they would ever dilute the bloodline with normal monkey blood, as they would call it.
Is that blood as well people with that type of blood can give a blood transfusion to anyone, whereas normally you have to have a blood match, don't you, to have a blood transfusion?
Yeah.
So it's like all encompassing blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd heard that.
Yeah, and then there's just weird things like, for example, it's like weird inbuilt mechanisms. For example, if a female has Rh negative blood, and then her partner that she selects has Rh positive blood, and they mate, and she gets pregnant, there's a lot of antibodies and other shit in the immune system that will attack the fetus in development because the blood isn't compatible. So it's like right down onto the very level of creation. There is something there where these people are obsessed with this, and that's where the whole field of eugenics comes from, and that's why a lot of the world elite today are so obsessed with eugenics. They're so obsessed with DNA. They're so obsessed with, like, just like the Nazis were with the golden race, the Aryan race, the chosen race. They're obsessed with of basically becoming immortal through refining the human genome and genetic expression so that they can create this master race here on Earth.
So in a nutshell, you've got this very small group of people that have got this certain type of bloodline, and they want to keep that bloodline pure. And to do that, and not only that, they want to have a power control over the planet. And to do that, they're sort of breeding within themselves, and then also controlling the population at large with these systematic plans like you've discussed.
Yeah, exactly. And they have positions of power in everything, every facet of society and the world. These people have had positions of power for a very long time, and it's so deeply entrenched that now we are living this whole coronavirus situation, this whole Black Lives Matter situation is the direct result of shit happening behind the scenes from what we refer to as the white hats within this sort of community, at war, a covert war with the black hats being the cabal, the deep state. And it's now as with everything, I talked about these cycles of time, the cycles of nature. And for the past 12,000 years, we were on a descent. We were on a descent in our level of consciousness. We fell deep into materialism. We become deeply disconnected from our spiritual roots. So we were easily controllable and easily manipulatable, which is why the Catholic Church had such a control over the world in the Dark Ages, so on and so on. And they know just as much as people that when you begin to read about this and understand it, that these cycle of times don't give a fuck about your control. They're above you, and we just play a part within that cycle, and that the cycle is coming to an end, and then we are all destined to awaken. We're all destined to begin a new age on this planet of being much more collective in our or united in our level of consciousness, I should say. And this has all been prophesized for thousands of years, and we've reached this very point now where this is the end game. This is the bit that you see on a film where the bad guys are on the back foot, like they're literally on the back foot, and the good guys it's finally about to win the battle. And
what sense? Like, who's doing this now?
So
because of this stuff, or because of actually like QAnon type stuff?
So all to do with like QAnon type stuff. There's a lot of people that don't really like for people that don't know what QAnon is believed to be an aspect of military intelligence, a united military intelligence from the NSA, the CIA, MI5, MI6, a little bit of Mossad, even though they're evil as fuck as well, and I got to talk about them. As well as the US military, just kind of it's a joint venture, let's put it that way, of individuals that are wanting to dethrone the cabal because they've had enough of them, because the cabal have just fucked this planet for so long, and we need to change. And that's the thing, you've grown up for so long, generations before us, thinking that this is the way it is because it is the way it is, without knowing that these group of people have created all the wars that we've ever fought in. Everything has always been for the benefit of these specific individuals. So now the QAnon are essentially doing this war behind the scenes, and in order to stop them or to slow their progress, the cabal, the deep state, released the coronavirus. It was a man-made virus to begin with, which they released, although they didn't release it correctly. They actually released a version of it that didn't have that sort of killer impact that they were expecting, and it was very infectious, but it didn't really kill many people. And as soon as we kind of
It's a beta version.
yeah, beta version, but the alpha version is coming. We could discuss that later as well. And then as that failed and attention started to draw back on to what QAnon, or who was headed by Trump. Trump was someone who was brought in by the military intelligence, by the US military, to self-fund himself through the presidential election and to be their sort of face to this.
So just to pull you up on this point at the moment, because I've been having this discussion with a few people, like no one can convince me Trump is a good person, right? Is a good person. Now, I don't necessarily mean that doesn't necessarily mean he isn't doing some good stuff, but I just think from watching him on TV and reading certain things about him and having conversations around him, I just can't see how he is a good individual going out and intentionally doing good in the world. Like when I think of a leader, especially someone who's a leader of such a powerful country, I think of almost like a Native American Indian type character, where you've got someone who's, wise and fair and just and all these things. And I just don't see Trump as that sort of leader.
I agree.
It's the trump card, though. It's the last thing. Like it's the jester. What's needed? Maybe.
And I agree to some aspects. And it's like he's not the hero that everyone wanted, but he's someone that people needed. At the end of the day, like the way that the whole system, the whole American presidential system is built around, it's all through money. It's all through lobbying. It's all through big financial deals and big rallies that cost so much money. And you're not going to be able to get anyone who's not part of the clique in on that. You need someone who's completely out of that system to come in and self-fund themselves, because if you're going to run for presidency, then regardless of what party you're aligned with, you still need a lot of money, you still need a lot of funding. And who funds these people? It's always the pharmaceutical companies, it's always the banks, it's always these industries that are highly dependent on the world being the way that it is, because it's all ran by the deep state, it's all ran by the cabal. That's why regardless of who got in, be it Bush, be it Obama, be it Clinton, be it Nixon, be it any of those fuckers, they're all part of the clique, they're all part of the gang. And Trump wasn't part of the gang. So it doesn't matter if he's a good person or not. At the end of the day, he's not molesting children and sacrificing them, drinking their blood in order to gain immortality. So that makes him a good person. He's a better person than these other pieces of shit that have been in power for a very long time. So they needed someone that had the money to be able to run this campaign, and who was against what the cabal was doing, that had wits about them, that was charismatic, that had leadership qualities. And they went to Donald and they told him, they briefed him on everything and was like, look, this is the plan. We cannot let Hillary get into office. If Hillary gets into office, then it's going to be World War III and we're fucked. So we need you to step up. And he stepped up, and okay, he's not got the perfect track record, but again, no one has. What he's doing, though, is very brave, man. Like no one knows about this. No one knows because the news doesn't show you, but there's been so many assassination attempts on his life, on his wife's life, on his children. Like he's put himself. You don't put yourself into that situation knowingly that it's going to happen unless you're made of something. Unless you're ballsy and you're in it for the greater good. And I know he gets a lot of hate, and the media have done a very good media have done very well spinning a narrative on him. But people need to understand that he is making some shifts. Like it's different now, even from within the last 6 months. You see what he's saying now in his press conference. He's coming out. He's saying human trafficking is like the sin of all sins, and it needs to be stomped out. When did any president before that talk about this? They didn't, because they were part of it and they depended on it.
Yeah.
And
didn't you say that woman's singing like a pig or something?
Yeah, well, they've got Ghislaine. Ghislaine is not the right
way to say it.
Maxwell, yeah. And obviously, we were discussing this yesterday.
Yeah.
She handed herself in. She was in Paris hiding out, and you're thinking there's no way she would have handed herself into the American government without, making some
Sitting
sort
on
of deal.
piles of
You
get out of jail
guaranteed
free
she's
cards.
got a lot of information and potentially, footage and evidence of all sorts that have gone on with Jeffrey Epstein and the network that he's involved in. That's sort of her get out of jail free card, and that for Trump is going to play right into Trump's hand because if she's turned up.
Did he actually say she's singing like a pig or something? Like?
Oh no, I think that was me sort of like elaborating on what he said.
But
he sort of hinted that she's talking behind the scenes.
Sick.
So.
Yeah, so that's gonna be needed. That's gonna be needed because then she was really the key before Epstein. Like Epstein, although Epstein's a very important figure and had a lot of information, like she was the handler. She was the real asset that they needed to get. And there was a lot of obstacles in the way between Epstein's arrest and her arrest that needed to be sorted out. And over the past 6 months, that's what the Trump administration have been doing behind the scenes, of passing legislation and law here, there, and everywhere that together, which individually doesn't really make sense. You're like, what the fuck are you doing that for? But then when you see what their actual end game is and who they needed to get and who they needed to remove and like the moves necessary to get to those positions, to those milestones, it becomes very clear that there is a systematic plan in place to dethrone the current power structure. And Maxwell is just one of them, and they're all going to start to fall. Like, this is the thing though, like they're all shitting it because they know their time's up, and like they will answer for their crimes, and people can't even begin to comprehend what those crimes are. Those crimes are hard to even imagine because as soon as you imagine them, it brings you into a level of darkness that most people aren't comfortable residing in, and it takes a very strong-willed, strong-spirited person who is fully aware, fully conscious, and can handle the darkness to be able to operate within that darkness, illuminate it, and then bring the truth to the people. And that is something that I've, kind of committed my life to doing, is that you go down these dark rabbit holes and you learn about a lot of shit that you kind of, like, most would wish that they never heard of. Like this, there is some really insidious shit going on, guys. Some really evil shit that you think would be fit for a fucking Hollywood film. But the fact of the matter is that this is reality, and this is happening, and it's been happening underneath your nose, and it's been rubbed in your face as well for a very long time. And this whole system is coming to a climatic ending, which is pretty much leading up to the election in November, which beforehand, elections didn't mean fuck all. It was a complete waste of time. It was all rigged from the get-go. But this one's important. Like, Trump needs...
Kanye 2020.
Yeah, Kanye 2020, The Rock.
The Rock's running, yeah.
Is The Rock running?
I'm not sure.
Why is he not running?
He should. He's in for a good chance.
Makes enough money, man. He should do.
So, moving forward, what can we do about it?
So, what can we do about this? What can we do to escape this system? And this is where my kind of map comes in, which is called the Superhuman Optimization Map. So, guys, if you're listening to this, you can download this for free on my website. If you go on to primalalchemy.co.uk, you go on the shop, you go on the art section, and then you've got the free download, or you can buy the pearlescent A4 cutout is here. You can also get it in poster form. And it also comes with a digital version as well if you pay the premium for them. And what this map is about is, I guess I will give a little bit of a preface to this as well, because this is very specific, is that the deeper you go into, I guess, like the pursuit of self-realization, of self-mastery, of just exploring consciousness and what it means to be human, into the deeper esoteric aspects of this with ancient history, ancient wisdom teachings, you begin to find out that modern science is starting to reaffirm and validate a lot of what our ancient ancestors used to discuss in their mythologies, in their oral traditions, which is that reality is not real, and that it is what modern day we could refer to as a simulation. And there's a lot of modern day scholars that support this. You've got Nick Bostrom, who is a Swedish philosopher over at Oxford University. You've got James Gates, which was a theoretical physicist. He specializes in supersymmetry or string theory. And what this James Bates actually, through his work, there was a specific set of equations that when he dug deep down into all of these fucking equations that are way out of my head, way out of my comprehension, in regards to explaining reality, he found that at the bottom of it, there was like code, zeros and ones. And these 0 and 1s were sometimes in randomized patterns, but when actually like analyzed, there was order to them. And it was almost as if you would look at a computer program like binary code. And then you start to look into other researchers and what they have to say. And then there's a physicist, his name is Richard Lighthouse, and he created a set of equations called the Lighthouse Equation or Lighthouse Frequency. And he says that the universe is blinking 1.1 trillion times a second. So imagine an on and off, like binary. If you were in a computer and you were making like a bitmap and you're trying to create a picture, like the refresh rate as well on a computer screen, 50 to 60 hertz. It means that it's flicking on 50 to 60 hertz every second, and that's what creates the image or flow of an image, the perception of movement.
Our eyes see it 24
frame P second, as well. It's like a one they use in Hollywood.
So you're saying it's blinking at 1.3 trillion.
Yeah, so the actual universe itself it's blinking at 1.1 trillion hertz. So it's almost like a refresh rate of almost like as if we've got a virtual reality headset on. And if you start to look at the advancements in technology, we've gone from the 1970s where all you had was Pong, and then that went into Space Invaders, Pac-Man, and then
we did land on the moon before we had Pong.
Yeah, we did somehow land on the moon. I don't know how they did
before
that.
Pong, then Pong. They've had, GTA come out and they've still not come back.
GTA, and then we're at where we're at now in 2020, and we've got the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, which it's not like it's like Ready Player One. I don't know if you guys have seen that film, but if not, watch it. Where it's essentially a reality or universe built within inside these systems that is indistinguishable from reality. You can still know you're in a computer game, but that's in the space of like 50, 60 years that this has happened. So then there's a guy, his name is Ray Kurzweil. He's like the demigod of Silicon Valley. He's like one of the big minds out there. He's pretty much autistic, but I'm not going to hold that against him. And he's got some really interesting things to say. He discusses the concept of Moore's law and the law of accelerating returns, which is to do with the rate at which computer chips, microchips, double every few years. And it creates that cumulative effect of like within the space of 10 years there, then escalates all the way up to there in a really quick space of time in regards to the rate of technological advancement. So if you're looking at where we're at now, within the next 10, 20 years, we will have the technology, quantum computing technology, to be able to create universes on a computer hard drive the size of a micro SD card. Mm-hmm. So if we have the capability to do that and we can create universes is indistinguishable from our own within that time span.
We put people in swimming pools and then remove the ladder, like in The Sims.
Fuck!
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yes. That's a good analogy anyway, The Sims, because that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that point actually. Then this is where Elon Musk pops in. That motherfucker. Got a lot to say about Elon.
Yeah, we talked about him. You weren't here for that. Feel free to.
Shame. I would have shit all over him and his plans. But
we can do that now. People are always interested.
I'm not here to shit on Elon just yet. But Elon is an advocate of this theory as well, and he discusses that the probability, if we've hit this stage already where we're so close to being able to do this, then the probability of us being the first to do this is like 1 in a billion, which would make you believe that this being base reality as we perceive it to be is actually a 1 in a billion chance of it being base, and is actually more likely to be a simulation, that this is some form of simulation. And this obviously raises a lot of interesting questions. And when you start to look into the nature of quantum physics and what that is actually all about, the way that we perceive reality with the whole, what they call quantum indeterminacy, which is something going to be a waveform, or is it going to be a particle? And that's all to do with what they call the observer effect. So everything is information, everything is code until there is an observer to observe it, and then that waveform collapses into a particle and becomes what we perceive as reality. And that is the exact same technique, or it can be referred to as mirrored in technique, as if a computer game with graphic rendering techniques, that you don't just have the game world all rendered at once. Everything is information, and wherever the user is applying their focus or consciousness to, that's where the game world,
the observer affects the outcome.
that's where it renders into what you perceive to be reality. So there's loads of these mirroring sort of what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of these mirroring similarities between a gaming world and what we perceive to be the real world. So what I've done is created this map in regards to believing, is through my belief, through my research, that we are living in a virtual reality. But it's not just any virtual reality. This is a spiritual virtual reality. This is a virtual reality that spirit manifests in order to evolve it, in order to learn, in order to grow, to evolve into higher realms. And in doing so, it is like a spiritual MMORPG, for which no one knows what that means. An MMORPG is like a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. For any of you geeks out there, you get me straight away. When you're playing this game, what do? You get to select a character. You get to create a character. There's different character archetypes. You might choose a warrior, you might choose a mage, you might choose a rogue. And then these characters have specific preset attributes. They have different strength points, different mana points, different spirit points, different techniques available to them to experience the game world through. And that's kind of similar with how we see people in the world. If you look into things like the Enneagram, you look into the Myers-Briggs personality test, there seems to be specific archetypes that we all seem to experience and channel into our day-to-day life, almost as if like they're preset and we channel those archetypes, which is when you start getting into the self-development theories and understanding your archetype and how to better it. And this map is all about optimizing the avatar being you, this physical body that you identify as, this experience that you identify as in this life. I experience it as Chris, you're experiencing it as Tim, Josh, Lewis. That is what we're experiencing in this life. That isn't the real us. The real us is the person behind the screen that's playing the game, but we're identifying as that character in the game. And just like all of that information, the game is not, it's not held within the game. It's from a server elsewhere outside of the game. And that's very much like reality, in that all of this is just information that is stored in a cloud, which we would call the Akashic Records, or what some esoteric cultures call the Akashic Records, that we tap into and we experience. So if we're playing this game and we know that the whole point of this game is to evolve and to become the best version of yourself in order to experience the game world the best way that you can. When you're playing a role-playing game, when you're playing a computer game, you don't want to be stuck on level 1 all the time with your base stats, because you're weak as fuck. You've got a limited access to the game map. Everything's locked. No decent quests, no good side quests. It's a shit game. All games are very boring to begin with. And as you get better and you test yourself and you face adversity and you overcome like trials and tribulations, you level up. And as you level up, you access new areas in life. And this is a similar sort of philosophy to sort of follow. And then I'm kind of taking it to the extreme with this map, because what I'm doing is giving you everything that I've ever researched in order to optimize yourself. So the map is split into different sections. You have an area called Enter the Matrix. So Enter the Matrix is understanding the simulation that we're in. It's understanding quantum physics, simulation-based physics. It's understanding our ancient past, our ancient history. It's understanding the cycles of nature and how you kind of operate within it. And then you've got the avatar instruction manuals.
I can give some examples from that one. Was like Holographic Universe, I've read that one. And you've got the Electric Universe, the Thunderbolt project is really cool. I've listened to The Secret History of the World with Jamie. I've not finished it, but a lot of that kind of stuff. So that you get a lot of different really good books in there. Yeah, go on. Then you've got the instruction.
Yeah, so the Avatar instruction manuals are all to do with self-knowing and ego development. So it's
Paul Check, Marcus Aurelius, Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, so you learn it. So it'd be like Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius.
Ken Wilber's
yeah,
good.
all quadrants, all lines. You've got the spiral dynamics, which is by Professor Don Beck. You've got a lot of these.
Jacques Fresco.
Yeah, you've got a lot of these things that if you look into, you can learn to understand yourself and work on yourself, work on the inner self. Like it's all well and good doing the outer work, but then you also want to know about the real you. And there are theories and there are interesting people and researchers out there, which I've referenced, that you can search and look into their work and find how to understand yourself more. So it's an instruction manual for the avatar vessel. You're learning how to operate the avatar vessel to its optimum abilities. And then from there, you then got a lot in regards to like, how do we optimize ourselves? So we've got physical optimization, we've got mental optimization, we've got spiritual optimization, we've got emotional optimization, and then you've got like nutritional keys and what I call avatar kryptonite. So those are the things to stay away from. And within all of those categories, there is a myriad of a compendium of ancient ancestral wisdom with 21st century science, all referenced for you to look at and just apply. Like look at these subjects, look at them, research them, and then try and practice them. Find if they work in your life. Not everything on that map's going to work for you. It's not going to resonate with you fully. But the more you start to do stuff, the more you practice, the more you experiment. This is where Manly P. Hall, one of my favorite teachers of all time, one of his famous quotes, which is, experiences are the chemicals in which the philosopher experiments with. And that's it. You got to experiment with everything. All of these topics that are referenced on this list, you got to practice for yourself. You got to transmutate that knowledge into your own personal wisdom and truth. And you only do that through experience. And then when you begin to do that, you're bettering yourself. You're leveling up. And the more you level up, the more you increase your level of awareness, the more you increase your consciousness, the more you will begin to see the power that you really have. And it is this power that the elite, that the bad guys of this game world, the evil fuckers, are stopping you. They are doing everything in their power to distract you from this fact. And that fact is that you are a god with amnesia. You have forgotten your past. You have forgotten your true potential. And when you wake up to it, you cannot be controlled. You will never be the effect of someone else's cause. You become the cause and effect of your reality and destiny. And when you're operating in that state of consciousness, you become unfuckwittable. No one can fuck with you. You create your own reality, and you literally become like Neo. That is what the whole story of the Matrix is about. And these are the red pills. This is the red pill to wake you up. You have to detoxify the body. You have to clean it. You learn about all the different detoxification
Urine
processes.
therapy's in here.
Yeah, auto urine therapy. There's a lot.
Next to kettlebells.
Yeah, next to kettlebells.
Literally can't go one episode without talking about urine.
It's God, mate. It's a sign from God.
Right, it is God's juice. So
If you are God, as you said, then it is exactly.
yeah. So I mean, again, on
Reishi on here, I like to see that.
yeah, on that map.
Ceremonial grade matcha, as Mo was talking about.
talking about that.
Yeah, that's important to get ceremonial grade. That's the thing, man. Most of the matcha products on the market, they're all what's the culinary? Is that the word? Grade, which is all just to do with cooking. Like the actual real matcha ceremonies was like a ritual back in the day. Yeah.
It ties together so nicely, this, because I know your tagline with Primal Alchemy is "Save yourself, save the world." Mm-hmm. And obviously, if you start, like you said, reading through this optimization map, start embedding some of the principles that resonate with you, start stepping out of the matrix, and effectively you're going to be fighting against the cabal and everything that's referenced in those other maps just by improving yourself and then impacting the people around you.
It's the ultimate form of rebellion in the 21st century is to follow that path of awakening. And then by doing so, as you would do on any game, if you're following that quest, you begin to bump into non-playable characters, NPCs that you end up going on side quests with. You get more XP, you level up, you get new abilities, you get new inventory, like equipment, you get cool shit, you meet new people, and then you get new areas of the map unlocked. And you do that by following that main quest. The main quest will be and always has been soul development and the process of, yes, self-mastery. And that is what every master, ascended master, every mystic, every yogi, every whatever truth seeker from any culture of the present world and the ancient world, that has always been the most highly regarded pursuit, which is the pursuit of truth, and the pursuit of truth being the pursuit of knowing yourself fully.
Self-examination.
Yeah, because if you know
Life,
yourself fully, and then you've got full control of yourself on the internal world, then that will be mirrored in your external world. Yeah, know thyself. And but the thing is, these powers are also known by the dark side. The dark people also know this, and they follow a different path. It's a similar sort of path, but they follow the left-hand path. It's the dark path.
You need a Bowser, don't you?
You do need a Bowser. You do. You
Dr.
do.
Eggman.
You do need. That's why. They are just important. Like, you need the dark and the light.
You need someone to hold the polarity.
Yeah, you do, and and the Cabal is our Bowser. The Cabal is our Agent Smith. It's what personifies that force that is well, trying to keep balance, but at the same time, it's also, because it's dark, it's trying to take over, it's trying to dominate, it's trying to control.
Queen Wario.
Yeah. Fucking Mario, Luigi, Wario.
I see Theory on here. Have you done Theory?
Yeah,
I like Theory, man. I've been watching a lot of David Baselli stuff.
That's what I mean. There's a lot there.
There's a lot of solid stuff on here. I've looked into so much of it. You've got a lot on here.
The emotional body is something that, again, is just highly undervalued and highly underappreciated. Yeah. And it's a body. It's a body of energy, and it requires work. It requires at least people to be aware of it. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And it's one of those that it's massively overlooked, and people like to hide their emotions.
Solfeggio frequencies. I just want to add, on all my courses that I sell, Mindful Warrior, Way of the Rope, beginners, and the intermediate one coming out, I've used solfeggio frequencies in the background subliminally.
Nice, man. Yeah, so same sort of thing with the solfeggio frequencies. Like these are harmonics that are in alignment with creation and the universe. And it is. I also use the solfeggio frequencies in my orgon charges for my products. Nice. So 528 hertz is. Yeah, I call it like a DNA activation pack. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, there's a number of different solfeggio frequencies. But I tune the
174. Is that DNA?
There's
639. There's a few I use.
Yeah, and again, all of these can affect us deeply on the emotional level, and the emotional level is connected very deeply to the subconscious. So if you're working on the on that sort of level, then you're really working in the subconscious, which even mainstream scientists have begun to accept is pretty much we live out of our subconscious. We live in autopilot mode due to programming and conditioning in the that's been put into our subconscious through years and years and years of life experience. And most of us are just walking embodiments of the programs that were programmed into us up to 7 years old.
Responding to scenarios.
Yeah, just responding to the way that we were programmed to respond up to the age of 7.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what we seem to.
Just loads of big kids walking around looking like adults, but acting like children.
I love that thing. When I used to like Rogan back in the day, and he was discussing like his analogy of just like a child slamming on the accelerator, can't see over the dash, and he's just like fuck, just driving and don't know where he's going. But then our parents are those kids, and we look up to them like they've got the world sorted, and then you start to grow up and you're like, you don't fucking know anything anyway. You're just everyone don't know fuck all. Everyone's just winging it. No one has an idea. The only people that do have an idea are two classes of people: A, the elite, and B, people that have awakened and creating their own reality
without a map, just trying to solve it.
Without a map. That's what I mean. Like every hero needs the map. Like you need the hero's journey. You need your guide map. You need to know where you're going, and that's why these maps are so critical in this process. Is that they give you something to look for. They give you something to look into and guide you through the process, because it's a hard path. It's a lonely path, and it's
Well, you got spiral dynamics on there.
Yeah.
And we might talk about that another time, but I think that's quite a good map in a way of like you
Yeah.
see your conscious and
Yeah.
psychological evolution through
Yeah.
that. And,
Yeah.
But also acknowledging that the map is not the terrain as well is also equally important.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a good example of this actually, because we've been looking into spiral dynamics recently, and just through reading about it and learning more about it, I feel like I'm leveling up.
You need
So
to
it's
talk.
a good example.
You
of
need to
how that
talk
works.
to.
The map, yeah.
You need to talk to Chris about it.
Yeah.
Chris is like the one who introduced me to it a while back,
Yeah.
and he's like he did his master's thesis on all of this shit, and he's just got his PhD now, and he's very
Should we go
in
chat to
tune.
him?
Yeah, I'll drop him. a
Ve-
message,
very
yeah.
in tune with Don Beck and all Ken Wilber and
Yeah,
all those
yeah.
guys in that
Yeah,
field.
That is it.
It's like there's all the same as Paul Chek goes on about the levels of consciousness and all of that. It's very closely intrinsically linked.
Yeah, I've
Maslow's
noticed that.
hierarchy as
Yeah.
well, all that stuff.
Understanding all of that, all of the sort of barriers internally and externally on different levels of awareness. And yeah, and that's like you're onto the right idea with, I know what you guys are saying, especially you, Tim, when you're talking about the spiral, spiral nature of things and applying that into exercise. Well, that's the spiral is everywhere, and that's where spirituality comes from. Yeah. It's the spiral. You're on the spiral.
And the spiral is also
yeah.
the figure of 8, which is the breathe in, breathe out, joy and sorrow, pride and shame. Like it's just
yeah,
that constant.
The body is made of spirals of all these myofascial lines, meridians. Everything runs in spirals, and then you've got like all of the forces of the universe interplaying within those spirals, and that's what creates the laws that we perceive. Well, the laws of this matrix that we have to interact with and we have to live with.
So for someone who's picking up your map for the first time, what do you recommend? Just pick somewhere that resonates.
A few things, like with the map itself, it's very dense, man. There's a lot of fucking information on there, and there's
it's a lifetime of work.
There's a lot. It's a lifetime amount of work in regards to not just how everything is individually, but also the system's approach to it, which is the relationships between everything and understanding how everything's connected, and the relationships are more important than the actual individual aspects or individual cogs of the machine. The relationship between all of the cogs and how they work together is more important. So what I would say is, for when people are going to use this map for the first time, is practice some intuition. Like just literally close your eyes and just run your finger over it, be that the physical version or on the computer screen, get it blown up nice. You can really zoom in on it and just roll your finger around and just wherever you're intuitively led to, and then just open your eyes and like, right, okay, that one. And then just look into that. Give it a little bit of a read, maybe watch a video on it. I reference some of the points I don't, some of the points I do. I reference like who I believe to be the key sort of researcher or sort of voice of that specific subject. And look at them, watch a video on them, watch what they have to say, and see if it resonates with you. If it doesn't, then go on to another point, and eventually you'll find something that resonates. When you find something that resonates, then you start to practice it and you put it into your life and you see how it affects you. Once you know how it affects you, you've got something tangible to hold on to then, and relax. Okay, that works. If that works, then let's see if this works. And then the deeper and deeper and deeper you go, the more you see the connections. And when you start to see the connections, that's when you can start to rehack the system, because you see you got a much bigger picture for it, and you can see the code instead of just you're seeing behind the picture, and you're seeing the code. And as all hackers know, it's like when you've got a good understanding of the code, you can pretty much create reality how you see fit.
5D living.
Yeah, 5D living, and that's what we need to learn to do. It's a power that we all have inside of us. It's a power that's laying dormant inside of us, and it's a power that is being used against us. And if you're not gonna empower yourself, then you're only ever gonna be, like I said, the effect of someone else's cause. And you don't want to live life like that. You don't like. Why would you? You are here. This is a very rare time to be alive, because the world is awakening. The game world is awakening. It's moving into this. It's converging into this, what they call the singularity point, and that is what we're all accelerating towards, is this point of self or individual and collective awakening of actualization. And then when we do that, we level up, and then the whole game changes again, because then we've gone from exploring the game world as in the physical earth to all of a sudden we have the game map expands into solar systems and beyond. And then it's a completely different level of awareness, it's a completely different level of consciousness. And then
requires its own podcast.
that requires its own podcast, man. It does.
But I think it's important that we're having conversations like this, because the chips are sort of stacked against you at birth, right? You've grown up, and like you said, this system's in place, and everything you see on TV, you never hear about this in the mainstream. So the first port of call is to sort of start reading about this information and then start having your eyes opened. So yeah, I think it's great you've like brought this to everyone's attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's not going to be for everyone. I mean, this information could have been presented differently, but this is my own sort of twist on it. I'm a geek at heart, and I love computer games, and this is how I wanted to really bring these ideas into a sort of uniformed sort of like package. And I guess just kind of summarizing the map. You don't have to have the same beliefs as me. Like, my beliefs are forged from a lot of research and a lot of self-experiment and a lot of experience. You don't have to believe that in order to benefit from the points on the map. You don't have to walk around thinking that you're a game character, that you're player one, and it's like, oh, plus 20 XP for doing barbell curls. That you don't have to think like that. I think like that, and it works for me. But just by following these principles, it's the principles that count. It's you have to experiment with it. And then of course the red pill pack is the complete red pill. So I would suggest that everyone needs to balance. You need to balance the darkness with the light, both internally and externally. You do need to face your demons, and people have a lot of fucking demons in this world, and a lot of people need to step up and start holding themselves accountable for their actions and what they're doing in their life. And if everyone's
Well, they've got
starting to
answers
do
to
that,
God either way.
what's this?
Either way, they got answers to God.
Yeah,
Whether they choose to do it now or eventually, like.
yeah. I mean,
But you're just saying.
This
just
is why
fucking
we're
put
here.
your ideas up and step up.
Yeah, this is 100% why we are here, is to experience, to learn, to grow. And if you're ready, then you step on to that hero's journey, and then you face what you need to face, which is preset, but at the same time, it's you've also got some control, and you've also got free will to experience and choose how you go about doing this. But it's all leading to the same end goal.
Cool, man. So tell them once again where they can either look at this online or they can buy a nice. I see it was in Harry's yesterday, and he had a poster on his wall. Nice big poster. Looks good, man.
You can get the free PDF version by going on the website and downloading it. If you want the one that I'm holding here, it's that's $4.99, and then that also comes with the digital download as well. Just because it is a little bit hard unless you've got a magnifying glass to get into some of the finer details of the smaller text. And then you've got the red pill pack, which is £9.99, which is the Cult of Baal Map and the Great Awakening Map together. And then you've got the poster version, which is like 24 by 36 inch premium poster, which has got a few little extra things added. And I'm also always updating this map. I'm always evolving myself. I'm always adding new shit, new ideas, new things that I'm researching, and I will interchange. Like, this will be a work in progress. I'm always adding things, taking things out, things that I kind of reevaluate my stance on. And yeah, there's just a lot on this, guys. And I've tried to bring you the best of where I've taken the depths of my knowledge, to be that nutrition, be that strength and conditioning, be that esoteric spiritual practices, be that self-development, be that pretty much everything that it means to be human and the human experience.
And that's what we're about.
I've tried to really get everything down here, like cut it, like I said, 21st century science and that ancient ancestral wisdom. And this is the how to become superhuman. This is how to become essentially living a living God.
And you've got a discount code, right?
So you can
For
use
the audience.
the Rediscover Human to get you 10%
Is that
off
what you had?
these if you want.
Yeah.
Or you just get, if you want the free download, guys, just get the free download
Check
first.
it out, man. It's really cool.
It's a lot to take in, guys. It's enough to keep you occupied when phase 2 of the coronavirus comes and we go back into lockdown. It'll give you plenty of time to work on yourself and be ready for the fireworks once we come out the other side of the second phase, and
Get up on the wall of your bunker.
yeah, the new world will be waiting for us. But there's still a few dragons to slay until we reach that point, and we're living, like I said, in unprecedented times. Like this is it. This is the end game. This is it. Like people,
Maybe.
yeah. this
It's
is
not
it.
till it's it, till the fat lady sings.
This is it. This is why there's fucking 8 billion people on this planet.
Maybe there's 8 billion. That
think-
number could be nonsense as well.
Maybe it might be made up. There's loads. I guess there'd be like loads in India that haven't got birth certificates.
It could go
probably
either
a few
way.
billion
Could it?
in China
could
as
be
well.
10 billion, it could be 2 billion.
Plus,
I've only probably seen about 100,000 myself. So.
plus all of the children that are kept underground and raped systematically every
Okay,
day and night.
right.
Just add that as well. I'm not laughing at that, by the way, guys. I'm not that evil. But yeah, so
Yeah. Thank you, man. No, thank you, man. I think we've hit them with enough. Hit me with enough.
Yeah.
That was a great resurgence of Chris coming right back in and just smashing it out the pot. What I would love to talk about actually is what's happening this weekend. But by the time this goes out, we'll already have the results. But the UFC is on. So we'll have to try and find a way to time talking about UFC, because I'm sure some of our audience would like that talk.
We can do a little, instead of talking about a training session at the beginning next week, we could talk about how Masvidal smashes Usman.
We'll fight. We will. Yeah.
What? When is the next fight island after that? When's the?
Is it one on the Wednesday or is it Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah, but it's like Danny Ye versus Kevin Cater or something.
Yeah, and
But then there's
Edgar's fight.
Till versus Whitaker, I'm kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, when's that? 3 weeks.
The third week of it.
What happened to Cannonier?
Cannonier?
Yeah.
I don't know, but he's a G, isn't he?
Yeah, I know, but what happened? Because he was meant to fight Whitaker, and then obviously Whitaker got injured,
Oh.
and then they just give the fight to Till.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. He's kind
don't
of
know.
just.
I know. We'll wrap
He's-
this one up.
Yeah, he's another one who walks around with a crystal.
He does have a
He's
big
deep.
crystal. Yeah, I like Cannonier a lot. Josh,
So www.apenutrition.co.uk.
get some quality snacks, some keto bars.
Keto bars,
MCT
fat
oil.
packs, MCT oil, CBD oil,
CBD, I had some of that last night.
and we got t-shirts. They arrived today.
Yes.
So we're going to have some Rediscover Human t-shirts. They'll be on the website early next week. Got a discount code set up for the listeners to the podcast. It's Rediscovering Human. That'll get you 10% off everything.
Cool. I set one up now. All caps lock Rediscover. 10% off. And you can go to humantimothy.co.uk or weartherope.co.uk. Basically the same thing. You get rope. Mindful Warrior course is there. Intermediate course will be out next week. I think Monday is my aim for launch. And maybe by the time this podcast goes out, intermediate course, which has 5 new patterns. It's got sneak, underhand sneak, matador. We've got, what else we got? And then we've got flows in there. We've got Millie Rock. What else we got? Hanuman's dance.
Yeah, that's
Home
the real
run.
level up. That is.
The level up. Once your Hanuman's dancing, then that changes. You never drag and roll again. Yeah, double drag. Anyway, there's a load of good stuff. So by the time it's out, there should be a trailer for it. So if you want to see what moves, if you've got a rope already, or if you want to look into getting a rope, intermediate course will be out. So you can just jump right in, level up your body. That should be on here next time, right?
What, way of the rope?
Way of the rope, man.
And
Yeah, I've
keto fuel going that little corner.
Where's
over
AP
there.
Nutrition?
Yeah, Ape Nutrition.
Fucking betrayer.
Because I see Iro put out. I mean, you've even got there's this guy Noi Diaguil. You could take him out.
Oh yeah, I
drop it.
forgot. I forgot.
No,
no.
FP's good. FP can stay there.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for listening.
Wait there. One more thing.
Go on, Chris. Finish.
Yeah, one more thing. As everyone's throwing in the sell plugs, I will throw in mine because
Yeah, of course.
the main thing wasn't actually for that. Well, I guess it is that map.
You got your
But-
stuff back in stock.
So the stuff is arriving on Monday. So
Is it
for everyone
Monday?
that's listening, Immortal Trilogy and Poseidon Force is back in stock
I'm
as
waiting on
of
some
Monday.
Poseidon Force, right? You you got some.
And I've got 2 new products coming out. I've got Pineal Pollen and I've got Zen Warrior. Pineal Pollen is, which I've kind of developed it to be the first third eye targeted, focused nutritional supplement on the market, DIDAO sourced, and real high quality. And then Zen Warrior is my new sort of pre-workout nootropic formula, which is I'm really excited to put out on the market as well and see how things go with that. And they will all be available next week. And yeah, that's going to be the new replenished range of the Field of the Gods on primalalchemy.co.uk. Just go on the shop, click on the supplements. There it is.
Awesome. Isn't that refreshing, guys? That like you've got adverts from us that is our products. It's not like we're being paid by Manscaped to like.
It's rare.
It's rare. It's rare in the podcast game. I can't promise you it'll never change. If you've got a product that would align with us and you want us to sponsor it, send us a sample. We'll have a look. But for now, it's just us repping our shit, and we keep it that way till we get that 100 million Joe Rogan Spotify money. Oof. Right. Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers,
See you next
guys.
time. Peace.
Sweet.